Welcome back once again to howtocookgreatfood.com. If you haven't already, please click that button and subscribe to our channel. On the menu today, we're going to make moussaka. This moussaka is made with beef and has a bechamel sauce. There's quite a lot of components that go on with this one. It's a little bit time consuming, but absolutely wonderful. So there are many types of moussaka. People make it differently in different countries. There's a Greek version, Turkish, in the Levant, Gulf states, Albania, Bulgaria, Egypt, Romania, all make it slightly differently. Some people swear that you have to use beef, some lamb. For me, you can use whatever you want. And some people put a bechamel sauce on, which we've done today, or some put an egg custard. The egg custard will kind of rise a little bit more. That's about it. I mean, we've got potatoes in our one. Some people don't put potatoes. Some people will even put chickpeas in. And some people won't even layer it. But anyway, this is the version we're making today. It's got a nice thick meat sauce, bechamel sauce on top. Delicious. Let's go and take a look at what we need to do this. Okay, so before we get moving, I just want to show you that there are 4 components for this version of moussaka. We've got meat sauce. You can use lamb or beef, it's up to you. Eggplants, which have been fried. A bechamel sauce and some potatoes that have been sliced and cooked. Let's start by getting the meat sauce done. Okay, let's take a look at these ingredients for this meat sauce. Onion, garlic, tomato paste, a can of chopped tomatoes, and the spices that I'm using today, which you can play around with if you want. I've got a teaspoon of thyme, cumin, oregano, and chili flakes. Now my meat there, I've got some beautiful, really nice high-end beef there. Now you could be using beef, lamb, or a combination of both, it's up to you. Let's get to the cooker. We're going to start off with a little bit of olive oil and some salt and pepper. Okay, so I've got my pan here, olive oil. We're going to drop in our onion. Cut my onion nice and small. Onto that I'm going to add my garlic. 3 minutes, medium heat. I'll be back then. Okay, so the onions and garlic are just taken. We're now going to drop in our meat, our ground meat of choice. And there's very little fat in this one. It's a really, like I say, really nice quality. Super lucky to have this. We're going to add a nice hefty amount of black pepper, some salt, and we're going to get our spices in. Let's just take one more look at those. What we've got here: chili flakes, thyme, cumin, and oregano. That's the mixture that I'm using. Like I said, if you want, you can play around with that bit. I think this works really well. Staying on this medium heat, 4 to 5 minutes. Let's combine this together, and we're ready to move on. Okay, so it's like 5 minutes in. Looking wonderful. We're now going to drop in that 1 can of tomatoes and that tomato paste. It's like 135 grams of that. Let's give that a mix. Then we're going to cook this out on a kind of low heat now, not a simmer, just above a simmer. Let this go for like 8 to 10 minutes. It's going to be wonderful. If you want, you could drop a little bit of red or white wine in this. I'm not going to. Keeping it just like this. And we're pretty much there. See you in about 10 minutes. Okay, that's been going for about 10 minutes now. Off goes the heat. Check that for seasoning. I'm now going to just add some fresh chopped flat leaf parsley, which I like to add in there. We're going to give that a mix in, and we can set this aside and move on to the next step. Okay, so our next step is to get our eggplants together. I've got some oil in there. You can use olive oil or sunflower oil, whatever you want. And can you see how thick those are? They're quite thick. I've cut these. And I've cut them into rounds. What we're going to do is pop them in. I like to put a little bit of salt and black pepper. I'll do the same when I flip them over, just a little touch. We're going to go for about 3 minutes aside. Okay, fantastic. So out they come. And I'm going to repeat the process because I've got a few more to do. I'll see you then. Okay, so there's our eggplant done. So the meat sauce is done, the eggplant is done. Let's now move on to our potatoes. So I've got some peeled potatoes in there which I've cut that sort of thickness, roughly. We're going to add a little bit of salt to that. And then what I want to do is I want to cook these until they're 80–85% done. So bring it to the boil, cook it probably just for about 5 minutes or so. And then we're going to drain them off. Okay, so our potatoes are done. I've drained them off. We can set them aside. So meat sauce done, eggplants are done, potatoes are done. We now move on to make our white sauce or bechamel sauce. Okay, so now we're going to make a white sauce or bechamel sauce. So just to remind you, I'm going to put the list and the amounts of all the ingredients in the text below. So we've got milk here. I've got 500 ml, which is just under a pint. Plain wheat flour, there's about 3 tablespoons there. Some butter, nutmeg, salt and pepper. Let's get to the cooker. Okay, so we've got a small pan here, small pot, and I'm just going to melt that butter nice and gently. Everything we're going to do now is nice and low. Keep it low and gentle. Back in a moment. Okay, so that butter's just about melted. We're now going to start to add some flour. Now don't put it all in at once. Just get a little bit in there. And on a nice low heat, let's work it into that butter. And what we're doing here is creating something that's called a roux. And what's very important, nice wooden spoon's always good. What's important is that we keep it nice and low and we cook this until we get a kind of biscuit or a kind of cookie smell. I can add just a little bit more now. If you don't do that, you're going to end up with a sauce that tastes of flour. It's going to be very, very floury. So let's cook this for about 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, and just keep it moving all the time. It will change colour slightly, and you'll get that kind of shortbread smell. You can actually just grab some and taste it. If I tasted that now, it's going to just really taste floury. A bit later on, it's going to have a nice kind of toasty, non-flour taste. Back in a moment. Okay, that's wonderful. Now we're going to add milk. Now I'm going to drop this milk in and it will get really thick quite instantly. So I'll just put some in. And again, wooden spoon. Keep working it in on a nice low heat. And it's just thickening. As you can see, it's going to get really thick just as that heat gets on it. There you go. It's like a thick paste now. Now we're going to add the rest of the milk. I'm going to add a little bit, just a little pinch of black pepper, a little bit of salt. Now you might have used salted or unsalted butter, so be careful about the amount of salt you're putting in. And then a nice big pinch of nutmeg. We're going to work this now for about 5 minutes on this low heat. And as we do that, the heat's going to go through it, it's going to cook nicely, huge amounts of lumps in there at the moment. We're going to work them all out. Keep stirring. Okay, and off goes the heat. You can see that's beautifully smooth and a nice sort of consistency. It's thick enough. Now some people would make it more of a sort of egg custard. So you get that really, you know, it really sort of rises up. And I've got a nice thick top on the top of the sauce. But yeah, this is no egg in this one. This is a straight bechamel. But yeah, it is absolutely beautiful. Okay. Okay, so now we've got our 4 components together. Our white sauce, potatoes, eggplants and meat sauce. We can now get this together. So we're going to need some sort of oven-proof dish. You could be using metal, ceramic, or like me, glass, as long as it can go in the oven. I've started off by putting in 1 layer of eggplants. And we're now going to put in a nice layer, thick layer as we can, well, a nice thick layer of meat sauce. Okay, so that was all of my meat sauce. That's like 2 inches. That's a really nice amount of meat sauce in there. We're now going to go for potatoes. So eggplant, lots of meat sauce, potatoes. Next up, more eggplant. Fantastic stuff. Now we're going to get on our bechamel sauce. This is looking absolutely wonderful. And then just at the end, we're now going to add some cheese. You can be using any cheese that you want. You can be using cheddar, mozzarella, parmesan, anything you like really. And then what I like to do is top that with some nutmeg. Some oregano, and then this is going to go into your oven, middle shelf, about 180, 200 for about 45 minutes. It's going to be absolutely delicious. Okay, and there you go, out of the oven, piping hot, absolutely wonderful. Now one of the distressing things about Musaqqa is you can't get straight into that. You need to just let it cool down a little bit, and then it will cut nicely. If I was to cut that now, it will just be a little bit sloppy. So let it cool down 10, 15 minutes maybe, and then it's easier to cut. Hope you enjoy that. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll see you soon. Lots of love.